Brought to you by Penguin.
Last Stop Auschwitz by Eddy De Wind, read by Boris Hiestand. In 1943, Jewish doctor Eddy De Wind volunteered to work in Westerbork, a transit camp for the deportation of Jews in the east of the Netherlands. From Westerbork, inmates were sent on to concentration camps, including Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen. Eddy had been told that his mother would be exempted from deportation in exchange for his work. In fact, she had already been sent to Auschwitz. At Westerbork, Eddy met a young Jewish nurse called Friedel. They fell in love and married at the camp. In 1943, they too were transported to Auschwitz and were separated. Eddy ended up in Block 9 as part of the medical staff, Friedel in Block 10, where sterilization and other barbaric medical experiments were conducted by the notorious Josef Mengele and the gynecologist Karl Klauberg. Somehow, both Eddy and Friedel survived. When the Russians approached Auschwitz in the autumn of 1944, the Nazis tried to cover their tracks. They fled, marching their many prisoners, including Friedel, towards Germany. These death marches were intended to eradicate all evidence of the concentration camp's atrocities. Eddy hid and remained in the camp. It would take months before the war ended. He joined the Russian liberators. By day, he treated the often very ill survivors the Nazis had left behind, and also Russian soldiers. By night, having found a pencil and notebook, he began to write with furious energy about his experiences at Auschwitz. In his traumatized state, he created the character of Hans to be the narrator of his own story. Other than in a few instances, the horror of his experience was still so raw he couldn't find the words to describe it in the first person. This is Eddy's story. How far is it to those hazy blue mountains? How wide is the plain that stretches out in the radiant spring sunshine? It's a day's march for feet that are free, a single hour on horseback at full trot. For us, it is further, much further, infinitely far. Those mountains are not of this world, not of our world. Because between us and those mountains is the wire. Our yearning, the wild pounding of our hearts, the blood that rushes to our heads, they are all powerless. Because of that wire between us and the plain. Two parallel fences of high-voltage barbed wire with dim red lights that glow above them as a sign that death is lurking there, lying in wait for all of us imprisoned here, in this rectangle enclosed by a tall white wall. Always the same image, the same feeling. We stand at the windows of our blocks and look into the enticing distance, while our chests heave with tension and impotence. We are 10 meters away from each other. I lean out of the window while longing for that faraway freedom. Friedel can't even do that. Her imprisonment is more complete. I can still move freely through the lager. Friedel can't even do that. I live in Block 9, an ordinary hospital block. Friedel lives in Block 10. There are sick people there, too, but not like in my block. Where I am, there are people who have fallen ill from cruelty, starvation, and overwork. Those are natural causes that lead to natural diseases that can be diagnosed. Block 10 is the experimental block. The women who live there have been violated by sadists who call themselves professors. Violated in a way that a woman has never been violated before. Violated in the most beautiful thing they possess, their womanhood, their ability to become mothers. A girl who is forced to submit to an uncontrolled brute's savage lust suffers too, but the deed she endures springs from life itself, from life's urges. In Block 10, the motive is not an eruption of desire, it is a political delusion, a financial interest. All this we know as we look out over this plain in the south of Poland.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?